These rough economic times have hit many retirees very hard, but not necessarily the retirees our Jim Axelrod takes a look at.
Back in Texas, on his first day as an ex-president, George W. Bush made his plans perfectly clear.
We may be retired, but we're not tired out. I'm going to write a book. I might even give a few speeches.
Our 43rd president intends to follow the game plan of our 42nd. And really, who can blame him?
Thank you very much.
Since leaving office in 2001, Bill Clinton has earned more than $100 million in book royalties and speaking fees. And he's not alone.
Good to see you. See some old hands here. Good morning.
Being an ex-president these days means being part of a very exclusive and very lucrative club.
It's somewhat unfathomable, quite frankly, when we look at our founding fathers. We look at Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, later Jackson, Grant, all ending their lives in relative poverty or debt. It boggles the imagination.
Leonard Bernardo and Jennifer Weiss have written a book about the lives of ex-presidents. The idea of profiting from the presidency, they say, would have shocked our founding fathers.
Early on, it was seen to be what the founders called unrepublican or unvirtuous, to make money following one's presidency, to engage in commercial pursuits. And very few did.
George Washington struggled to make ends meet, and he was one of the more prosperous early ex-presidents.
He was still cash poor. He had a 2,200 square foot distillery, became one of the largest whiskey distillers, in fact, in Virginia.
George Washington was making whiskey.
That's correct. That's correct.
Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, they have trouble?
They all did, actually. And in fact, when we think of Jefferson's final act of the University of Virginia, many people don't realize that was all done with borrowed funds. And his lifestyle really caused him to leave the White House and lead a life of destitution.
Fast forward to the 20th century. When Harry Truman's term was up, he paid for his own train ticket back to Independence, Missouri, where he moved into his mother-in-law's house and mowed his own lawn. There is nothing set up for him when he leaves office.
Right.
And yet, he refused to go on corporate boards.
He felt that that was somehow wrong for a former president. He had this idea of the kind of nobility and dignity of the office of the presidency.
How quaint. Due in part to Truman's circumstances, in 1958, Congress voted to provide a pension for former presidents, as well as money for offices and staff. A few ex-presidents later, Gerald Ford demonstrated the folly of thinking that a financial safety net would curb the ambition to cash in.
He basically sold himself to the highest bidder.
Ford sat on every corporate board that would have him, as many as 7 at the same time.
We never come to this country without feeling the warmth and goodwill of the Japanese people.
In 1989, Ronald Reagan received $2 million to give a couple of speeches in Japan. George H.W. Bush made millions working for a high-powered D.C. consulting firm.
Thank you.
But it was Bill Clinton who raised the game to a whole new level. If I gave you an ex-president to sell, would that be a good thing for you?
An ex-president is gold. Celebrity gold.
Richard Larimer runs his own marketing firm. In the modern age, he says, presidents are like rock stars, and rock stars make money.
The days when you expected the president to just go sit on his front stoop and rock in the chair, those days are gone.
And never coming back.
They're never coming back. They're never coming back.
Because there's too much money to be made.
There's money and there's celebrity.
The key to preserving presidential dignity, Larimer says, is to get rich almost as an afterthought while pursuing your true mission. Whether it's building homes for the poor, distributing aid to tsunami victims, or fighting AIDS.
It's the image that he puts forth as he says what he says and does what he does. And as long as it stays close to the way people perceive him, he can make as much money as he wants to make.
Unless, says author Jennifer Weiss, the money gets so big, it becomes the mission.
In the society we live in, they have the right to make money, certainly. We've seen that Now, ex-presidents have spent a lot of time doing good on an international scale. Will their exploitation of the presidency in any way diminish that possibility? Will they just be seen as mercenary business people? It's hard to say.